رب رحيم مشفق.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode in the series Dawah Ilallah, as we go through the comparative sciences and how we can be more effective in calling people to submit to Allah. You can see this amazing set we're in today. It looks like we're something from a sci-fi movie. And so today we are going to go further into the sciences and see how we can use different areas of study to help us to be more effective in our dawah. We spoke a couple of weeks ago about how people believe that little green men came out of the spaceships and came down to planet Earth and they did all sorts of strange things. And there are some religions that actually believe that, there was once upon a time a planet far, far away where people came to Earth and they crashed their spaceship into volcanoes. And there their bodies died, and then their bodies became spirits. And their spirits went and possessed people. This is what the Scientologists will teach. And that if you pay the Scientologist a certain amount of money, they will get rid of these human entities, these aliens from your body. And they'll teach you how to have extrasensory perception. So when I saw the set today, it reminded me of some of the strange beliefs that some people have, some religions have. We're not really concentrating too much on Scientology because Scientology, most people believe, is a bit crazy anyway. So not too many people take them seriously. Today, I want to concentrate a little bit about ourselves again. We're almost at the end of the series. And as we get closer and closer to the end of the series, the more I get worried. The more I'm concerned that perhaps we are concentrating so much on techniques or styles or ways of doing dawah that we sometimes forget to analyze ourselves. And the most important thing for a da'i is to do introspection. Inspect what's going on inside himself. Not the whole time, where he never does anything other than introspection, because then you'd be like a guru sitting on top of a mountain somewhere, in a lotus position trying to find your center. You're never going to find your center. You need to surrender, not find your center. And so, as Muslims, we have to continuously look at ourselves. What are we doing that is outside of Islam? What have we added into our deen that shouldn't be there? And one of the biggest illnesses, one of the biggest dangers in society today is sometimes we put a question mark where Allah puts a full stop. Where Allah makes a statement, we question. Instead of putting a full stop, we put a question mark. If He says you are not to do this, we ask why not. And if something is halal, we want to turn it to make it haram. If something's haram, we want to make it halal. This is the area and the age that we live in. Putting question marks where there are full stops. The Quran, it says, and it's translated into English as such, and I'll read it for you. You, the true believers in Islamic monotheism, and the real followers of the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, are the best of people ever raised up from mankind. How many of us ever think of that one little verse, one little line? We are the best that has ever been raised up amongst mankind. You enjoin the meaning of Islamic monotheism, all that Islam has permitted and ordained, and you forbid, you tell people not to follow polytheism beliefs that are against Islam and that are forbidden in Islam. And you believe in Allah. That statement sums up all that we need to know about being a da'i. We are supposed to be different. We are supposed to be unique. You are the best of people. Sometimes we feel that we're the worst of people. Sometimes we walk around being apologetic and saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm a Muslim. Please forgive me for being a Muslim. Instead of standing up and being proud of being. For too many years, for too many centuries, we as Muslims have walked around going, okay, I'm sorry that I'm a Muslim. Now we must stand up, put our chest out a bit, stand up straighter, be more proud, watch our dress, watch the way we walk, and say, I will not, as Shakespeare says, go quietly into the night. I will not be ashamed of being a Muslim. We must be bold to tell people about Islam. Not like before where we say, well, we don't want to cause problems here. We don't want to argue. Let's all just get along. Let's all just sing songs together and sway backwards and forwards and hold a candle in the wind. What happens when you hold a candle in the wind? It blows out. If you want to sit and compromise, you'll be standing with an empty light, nothing in your hand. We need to stand up boldly, like a bright light. You know, when you're going along the coast and you are on a yacht or a small sailing ship, the best sight is the sight of the lighthouse. Because when you see that bright light of that lighthouse sweeping past your boat, and it almost blinds you, you go, at last I'm at home. At last I'm out of the ocean and I'm on my way to land. And you make sure you move, suddenly you got this new energy. So we have to make sure that we as Muslims are those people who rise up and are the best of mankind, as we are told, and that we stand for true monotheism, and that we stand for people who reject what is wrong and stand for what is right. The majority of people that you are going to talk to know they need to submit to Allah. They know that Islam makes sense. They know it's a common sense religion, but culture, if I have to become a Muslim, what about my culture? What will my family say? What will my friends say? What will my culture think of me? Maybe it's about the money. What happens if I become a Muslim? Big fat checks won't come in anymore. What happens if I become a Muslim? I won't have to hang out with my friends drinking, drugging, partying, meeting all the girls. There's a lot to pay when you become a Muslim. So you have to think. You have to make that commitment. Say, what is keeping you from becoming a Muslim? And most of the time, you know what's keeping you from becoming a Muslim? You know what's stopping you from submitting? Is sin. You enjoy it too much. There's not many people who go and say, I want to go to rehabilitation. No people who are taking drugs, maybe heroin, cocaine, whatever it is. There's only a small percentage of those group actually decide, I need to change my life. It's normally when they get arrested by the police. It's when they get caught in a car accident that they caused because of the drugs that they were on, or somebody they killed or injured. Then they suddenly go, oh, I need to go get rehabilitation because they don't want to go to jail. That's the only reason that they went to rehab. And there's a very, very small percentage that one day they wake up and they go, I can't live like this anymore. And they realize I have to go do something. Alcoholic, same thing. There's no one sitting there drinking and getting drunk and enjoying himself getting drunk as an alcoholic who suddenly goes up one day, I think I need to go get help. It's normally when he has an accident, when he does something crazy, or when he is charged with a charge for what he's done. Then he suddenly miraculously, I need help. But very, very few of those go seek help by themselves and go, I have now realized what I'm doing wrong. And in society, there's very, very few people who realize that they need to change their life and submit to Allah, lest something tragic happens. But there are some, there are that few, who suddenly go, you know, this is what it's all about. I need to find the answer. Those brave few, those powerful, strong few that stand up and say, I will be counted, I will be different, I will not put a question mark in front of what Allah has commanded. And then they start to search for truth. And then they find guidance. So those people who have done that, those people who have made that commitment, we are very, very proud of you. You are the minority, but you are the best of nations. You are the best that Allah has ever raised up, because you are those who submit to Allah, reject what is haram, and accept what is halal. And you teach others to do the same. And you take the message of Islam to the people. Throughout the history of mankind, mankind has found a sickness that has spread amongst the community from generation to generation. This sickness has been around for a very, very long time, and it's not original sin, by the way. many Christians will say, oh, he must be talking about original sin, because this is the only sickness that has moved from one generation to the next. It's the curse. There's no such thing as original sin. Nowhere to be found in the pages of the Old Testament, nowhere to be found in the pages of the New Testament, but it's to be found in doctrine. And those of you who remember from what we spoke about when we spoke about doctrine, the doctrine came before the scripture. Let's take a break. When we get back from the break, we'll continue, inshallah.
We are going to explore some of the ahadith, the signs of the hour, the coming of the hour, the coming of the Day of Judgment. And that's why this series is entitled End of Days.
When is the final hour coming? What signs about it did Allah and His Messenger show us?
We want to motivate people to fear the Day of Judgment.
Where do we see these signs today? How many signs are yet to come?
We want to motivate people to turn to Allah.
Muhammad Tim Humble.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to End of Days.
Understand and foresee the signs of the final day. Correct your life and enhance your iman as come the End of Days. Every Friday at 11:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. India on Peace TV. Dialogue. Discussion. Debate. Rebuttal. Conclusion.
Eliminate misconceptions about religion. Get enlightened.
Witness Dr. Zakir Naik in a battle of words in Crossfire every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 10 a.m. India on Peace TV. The voice of truth.
That Allah does not look at your face, but rather Allah looks at your heart and looks at your action.
We Muslims know life is a test.
And so in order for us to have peace, there must be standards, there must be proof.
The voice of justice.
Indeed, to all nations we send a messenger, that they will call people to worship one God, Allah.
The one who is the only one who can grant true peace.
That we are looking for.
The voice of peace.
The last and final instruction manual for the human being, it is the glorious Quran.
The voice standing up for all of humanity against all falsehood. Islamic Voice, next on Peace TV.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. We are continuing with looking at how we can be better, how we can be the best that we can possibly be as Muslims. And we said that throughout history of the existence of mankind, we find a sickness that is spread from one generation to the next, from one group of people to the next. And this sickness is not the plague, it's not the bubonic plague, it's not AIDS, it's not HIV, it's not typhoid, it's not malaria, it's not original sin, as many Christian believers think it is. No, it is the sickness of putting a question mark where Allah puts a full stop. It's the sickness of believing that, like many Christian sects did in the past, like Jim Jones, David Koresh, and the others, they thought themselves to be gods. And they followed their own desires and their own wants. And so they started to create their own little compounds, their own doctrines, their own beliefs, and led thousands of people to death. They actually literally committed suicide following these cult leaders, Christian cult leaders. And in one of these compounds, by Jim Jones, he had written on one of his big compound's doors, he says, those who forget the past are forced to repeat the past. And so many times that we find in history, we have forgotten the past and we have to repeat it because we want to innovate. We want to come up with our own version, our own pre-packaged version of what we think Islam should be. And that's where we find people going into a sickness, into a disease. So the sickness that I'm talking to about today is the sickness of thinking that we know better. That somehow we can intellectualize and reinterpret and repackage Islam. The sickness that we can do it better than the previous generations, specifically the first and second and third generations of Muslims. They didn't know what it was like to live like it is now. So let's just repackage it, because that was time period laws. We live in a different time period now. Let's reinterpret and repackage and reshelf and remarket Islam in a new way, because they could not possibly have understood the problems in the first and second and third generation. This is the argument people give of changing what Allah has given us by the example and by the words that He gave us in Islam. The sickness of forgetting the past, this illness, this terminal ailment, is the idea that we think we can question God. It's a terminal illness. Terminal means there's no cure. There is no cure for doubt. Did you know that? If you are a drunkard, there is a cure for you. If you are a child molester, there's a cure for you. If you are a homosexual, there's a cure for you. If you're a drug addict, there's a cure for you. If you're a murderer, there's a cure for you. For a doubter, there's no cure. It's the thing that destroys and eats you up the most. So today, the Muslim community, as we see it today, is at a crossroads. We're at an intersection. We are crossing over. And today, Muslims of the world are under attack everywhere you go. Not from outside, not from political organizations. Yes, there might be some pressure from these things, but they're definitely not attacking. We find that in Africa, when the Christians came into Africa and tried to spread the gospel, they were unsuccessful. Hundreds of years of trying to propagate Christianity in Africa failed. The more pressure they put on Africa, the stronger the Muslims became. The more powerful they became. And they got murdered and they got massacred, but they just became stronger. So it's not external problems. It's not forces from outside of Islam that are destroying Islam, that Islam is under attack. Today, we are being infected by the most deadliest virus, and that no human will ever be able to cure. There's no pull for this. There's no political party that can give you a cure for this to fix it. There is no self-help book. I'm okay, you're okay, Dale Carnegie courses that are going to be able to help you. No holistic healing, no guru who can come down and give you some instant answers to the sickness. There's no leader or extra special abilities that anyone can use to help you when you're in this situation. Islam is under attack. And to repeat the past, if we do not get rid of this idea of innovation and inventing, this malicious attack, this dreadful disease that we find within Islam today is not coming from outside of Islam, it's coming from inside Islam. It's coming from people who are writing books. Everybody is a writer. Today, there are too many people writing books. There's not enough people reading them or studying them. So we find that somebody just writes a book, his fatwa for the week, sends it out either on emails or internet, or creates a website for himself. He just writes his own ideas. Maybe he prints books and prints out 10,000 of them and distributes them. And people believe, oh, it must be true. It's printed in a book. So we're living in very dangerous times. This problem is not from without, like I said, it's from within. Sometimes even from within ourselves. Sometimes we are the problem. We're looking for that person who might be the problem, but we are the problem. So we have to look at what we can do. The only hope for success lies from without. Because if we try to find the answers within, we are just going to stay in our own foolishness. So the only solution is to look without. It lies without, not within. So what are we talking about by this without? What we're talking about is looking how we can get a solution outside of looking at ourselves, thinking that we have the answer. There's a person who lives in South Africa who's a professional cage fighter, like a chicken in a cage. He's one of those big guys that beat each other up for no reason. And if you watch these cage fighters, you know that the guys that go into these cages, within 3 to 5 seconds, There's blood, guts, and gore all over the place. You have to be crazy to get into one of these cages with these guys. It's not like WW whatever, where they fight for half an hour and nobody has any blood on them, no one even gets hurt. These cage fighters, everything goes. And you'll see within a minute, the guy is either knocked out or gives up or taps out. It's very brutal. And each one of them that goes there will have 3 rounds of about 2 minutes or whatever each. And then they bash each other up. That's what they do in these cages. They can use karate, they can use judo, they can use boxing, they can use street fighting, anything, whatever style they want, they can use. And it's not fake, it's real. It's not entertainment, as it is in the other ones. It's serious. You can see the dangers that are they face. It's not like that junk that you see on commercial wrestling. It's real. People can die, and often they do. People get brain damage, and they often do. They break bones. It's brutal. But I'm not here to talk about the ethics of the so-called sport. What I want to talk to you, one day while I was talking to this man who does this as a living, we got into the topic of sports enhancement drugs. You know, steroids. Sports enhancement drugs, and drugs like steroids and such. And I asked him, does he have any problem with professional people who take steroids? And what he answered me blew me away. And I'll quote what he said. He said, do you know what creatine is? Creatine. Creatine is something that you use for your muscles, to build up your muscles. So when people are pumping iron and doing all the rest, they have creatine, mix it up, and they drink it. And it's supposed to help their muscles develop. It's not like a steroid. It's a creatine. And he said the following. He said, all the creatine that you took won't help you on that day when you're fighting. All the creatine in the world won't stop what's going to happen if you haven't been trained properly. And today we can look at the same thing as Muslim. All the creatine in the world will not help you on the day of judgment. All the creatine in the world won't stop what's going to happen if you don't dedicate yourself to Allah. There are no quick solutions. There are no steroids you can take. There are no quick ways to getting fit physically. And there's no quick ways to getting spiritually right. It's hard work. It's putting in the time and the effort. You see somebody, I think last week we were speaking about skinny abs. People who are already skinny, and they got these nice abs. And everyone goes, oh, you must be working out. But many skinny people don't have a lot of weight. They have good abs. And they call them skinny abs. They're not from hard work. They're just natural. And it's not good either because they look very sickly. But if you look at a weightlifter and you look at a gymnast, the gymnast is more powerful. It's more strong than a man who can lift 400 kilograms. He's stronger then. We don't want to be these bodybuilders. We want to be gymnasts. We have to put the time and the effort and the 8 hours, 10 hours a day. It's not the 1 hour session with lots of creatine and steroids and all the rest of it. We want to be natural. And so this is why we as Muslims have to become actively involved in pursuing righteousness, becoming right with Allah. For those who don't know, creatine is something that can become addictive. And you want to find the shortcut. Unfortunately, many Muslims have become addicted to shortcuts, have become addicted to tricks, trying to get them closer to God, closer to Allah. Nothing substitutes for good old-fashioned hard work. All the creatine in the world won't help you on the day of recompense, the day when you'll have your final battle. And all the creatine in the world won't stop what's going to happen to you when you get beaten down and you suddenly just find yourself not where you're expected to be. Many Christians don't know that when they die, in the state they are going to die, they're going to find themselves far away from where they're expected to be. There's no substitute for not going and finding out what Islam is all about. Don't just believe what your priest and your pastor have told you. Don't believe, if you're a Muslim, what your imam has told you if it doesn't come from authentic sources. If he just sucked it out of his thumb, it's not to be accepted. We need to put the hard work in. We need to make sure that we are people on planet Earth today who will stand for truth. All the creatine in the world won't help you on the day of recompense. All the creatine in the world won't help you what's going to happen. Only hard training, proper exercise, and a constant diet, a correct diet, will help you. Those of you who have been watching at home, we encourage you to really rededicate yourself, put in the time and put in the effort. And we ask that you join us again next week where we conclude what